What is more important, mindset or identity? I asked this question on Facebook a couple of days ago where I made a post and I was like, what do you think is most important? Do you think it's mindset or do you think it's identity? And there were some great discussions going on. Now, I want to share with you what most people miss when it comes to changing your mindset, changing your identity, and actually what I believe is the most important because I want to be able to help you guys get a permanent, lasting change. So here's what I found. I actually found that most people out there, they really want to make a change. Positive thinking is all the rage, right? Mindset's like it's a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. But the problem is what they're doing is the average person is thinking of mindset as positive thinking, affirmations, trying to change their beliefs. And I don't have to tell you what mostly happens when people try to change their mindset. They go two steps forward, one step back, and they end up in a never-ending, constant internal war. There's a tug of war going on. There's an internal conflict that happens. And that's why you'll hear so many times people will go, hey, I felt great at the event, or I felt great while I was working with the coach, or I felt great while I was reading that book, but then I went right back into my reality and it didn't last. It went right back to the way it was before. Now, why does that happen? The reason why that happens is because even though you might be changing your mindset, you might be changing your beliefs, you might be trying to affirm to yourself or have positive thinking, the real problem is you haven't had an identity level change yet. And so here's the thing. In life, you don't get what you want, you get who you believe you are. And not who you believe you are consciously, you get who you believe you are unconsciously. Does that make sense? So here's what I mean. You can go to an event, read a book, do some positive thinking, really try to change your mindset, and you can get yourself in a really awesome state consciously. But what'll happen is unconsciously, there's all of the conditioning from the past that's holding you back. There's years and years of programming telling you this is who I am. Does that make sense? So people try to make a mindset shift, but they don't make the identity shift. And so what happens is they keep going back to their previous identity. I'll give you a perfect example. Years ago, not years ago, it was 2019, 2020, so actually not that long ago. You would be surprised. You maybe heard the story before. I'm not saying this to keep telling my story, but I think it's really important for you guys to know. I was close to six figures in debt, close to it. I was literally 80 pounds overweight. I was divorced. I was depressed. My ex-wife was an alcoholic. I had nice guy syndrome. It was brutal. But the problem was I read all the books. I was a really good guy. I had all the positive intentions in the world. I would reframe myself. I would do positive affirmations. I would go to all the events. I studied everything. I was certified in every self-help, personal development, coaching, hypnosis methodology out there. I could help other people, but I couldn't help who? I couldn't help myself. And finally, I got so fed up. It's 3 a.m. one night. The lights are off. My girlfriend's in the other room. I had a girl. My girlfriend didn't like me for my for my looks because I didn't have any at the time. She didn't like me for my money because I was completely broke at the time. She saw potential in me, right? But the problem was I wasn't living. I wasn't demonstrating it, and she was so fed up with me. And I remember, my heart was sinking because I'm like, I'm about to lose everything. And I hit that moment where I'm like, you got to dig down deep. Nobody's coming to save you. You got to solve this right now. And I was frustrated because I know the right thing to do. I know I got to change my mindset. I've been trying to change my mindset. Why isn't it changing? And the answer that came back to me was it's because of who you believe you are, right? You can change your mindset, you can change your beliefs, but you don't actually believe that you're the guy that can make that happen. Does that make sense? I thought that I was a failure. I was saying I am a failure. I am washed up. And whatever you attach I am to, you become. Tony Robbins talks about this, right? He says the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how you define yourself. I'll say it one more time. Tony Robbins, his quote is, the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how you define yourself. I find that to be 100% accurate. Now, I want to take that even further. It's how you define yourself unconsciously, because you can try to define yourself and like, no, this is who I am. Have you ever tried to be like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this? And then you're like, your brain goes, BS, that's not true. And you fall right back. It's because it's your unconscious autopilot, right? So what do we want to do? We want to be able to shift the unconscious autopilot and who you believe you are unconsciously. And if you do that, almost everything's going to start to change automatically. You're still going to have to put in some work, obviously. If you want to lose weight, you got to go to the gym. If you want to have a business, you got to go get clients. But what I'm saying is you'll no longer have the internal conflicts anymore that are holding you back. So give me like 30 seconds. I'm going to share my screen. I want to show you a quick model. We're not going to go too much longer than this, but I want to share with you this screen because I think it's a useful model for you to know. Okay. When I was at my lowest point and I changed everything and I turned everything around, I tried to revert. I'm like, what did I do? What did I do to make the change? And I reverse engineered what I did. And here's what I found. I found that every single person has this in their mind, their body, their unconscious, right? I call it the 7 levels of self-mastery. And this is your path to total transformation. But here's what it looks like. Number one is you have a mission and a higher purpose. Number two is your identity. Number three is your worldview, which is your mindset. And your mindset's made up, I'll even type it here. Your mindset is made up of your beliefs and values. Okay. Now, your beliefs and values, underneath that is your dominant energy. That's your state. That's your emotions. Underneath that is your skills, resources, knowledge, capabilities. Then you have habits, actions, and behaviors. And then your environment is number seven, and conditioning. Here's how this works. These are Everybody has all of these in their life. These are all components of your life. But the problem is most people live from the bottom up and they're not living from the top down. So what's happening is their conditioning and their environment from early childhood, 0 to 7 and 7 to 14, what they're doing is their environment and their conditioning controls what they're doing habitually. It controls their actions because it's what they've always done or what they saw their parents do or what they saw their environment do. And then that's controlling what they believe they have access to regarding resources. My family doesn't have enough money. I don't have the education. I don't have enough time. All these excuses, right? But it's also like, well, I didn't go to the right school. So this affects all your skills, resources, and knowledge. Your environment conditioning affects this, is what you believe you have access to. And then your environment and conditioning, depending on what happened to you, that can lead to trapped negative emotions. That can lead to a trapped emotional state, right? Well, I had a tough upbringing. So now people, they're mostly, they have these trapped emotions in them, which then affects their mindset and their beliefs and their values. So their mindset becomes a sum total of all of the conditioning that happened before. And then so all of this stuff combined, all of these things, that happens even before they're able to create their own identity, right? So what ends up happening is they believe their identity is everything that's happened to them in their past, but it's not really them, right? So they try to change their beliefs, their mindset. It doesn't work because their identity, who they believe they are, it's one level higher, right? So here's what happens. People try to change their people try to change their mindset by just changing their mindset. They try to force change their beliefs, they try to force change their values, but the problem is they're changing it down here. Their identity hasn't shifted. So their identity is saying, yeah, well, that's great, but that's not who I really am. So they do 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Does that make sense? And because of that, they can never reach their purpose. It's like when you plant a tree or you plant like a plant and it's trying to burst up through the ground, it's trying to reach the sun. It's like you're down here and you're trying to get all the way up here to live your purpose, to live your mission, but you're unable to because all of this stuff is crushing you and bringing you back down. So here's the thing that you have to, this is what I found works the best. It's how I'm able to help people change in 3 days or less. It's how I get rapid transformation. It's how I've done it with myself. It's how I've done it with my clients. Here's what we do. What we do, number one, is we go right down into the environment and conditioning. And we say, what is the root cause? What created the trapped emotions? What created the limiting decisions? What created all these limiting beliefs in the first place? And when you remove the conditioning from their early environment, it's like what we did is it's like a domino falls and the rest of them go down. Or if you have a bungee cord, you're trying to run forward, it's like you chop the bungee cord and you can finally move forward. When you get rid of the conditioning and the environment, what's going to happen is automatically these trapped negative emotions go away. They change. And because the trapped negative emotions change, that's going to change their emotional state day to day. And then what happens is all of these negative beliefs, the beliefs are tied to the emotions, and the emotions are tied to the conditioning, right? So if you get rid of the conditioning, the emotions change, the beliefs change automatically, and your values will shift for the positive. All the conflicts go away. And then once you do that, now you're completely clear to be who you want to be. You're able to step into your full identity. Does that make sense? So the strongest force in the human personality is we got to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. So identity is actually more important than mindset in the scheme of things, because you can try to shift your mindset, but if you don't believe you're that person, it's not going to happen. But the problem is your identity is completely controlled by your conditioning. So it's not that you have to try to force change your mindset. What you have to do is eliminate the conditioning, release the trapped emotions. And then when you do that, the rest of this is going to change almost automatically. This is what I do with my clients one-on-one to help them get the change. I get rid of all the conditioning with them in about 3 days, and then we maintain the change long term with some follow-up. So that is what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to shed some light on what I talked about on Monday. What's more important, mindset or identity? This is really the foundation of what I believe and how I'm able to help people. So I'm curious, comment below, what's the biggest takeaway, the biggest aha moment that you got from this? I'd love to comment, love to have a little discussion with you, or see, if you had an epiphany, an aha moment, or anything that you're taking away from this. And if you're looking for some help with this, I love helping people. This is what I love to do every day. So I nerd out for this stuff. I love helping people shift their mindset. If you want some help, reach out, direct message me, comment, comment breakthrough below. I'd love to see how I can help you out. So that's it for today. This is Jared with Self Mastery for Men. Wanted to make this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, guys. Bye.